watching In Deep on the Delta. This is the weekly Delta fishing report for the week of April 21st. Before we get into the report, I've got a few announcements for you. For those of you who live up in the Motherlode around Sonora, you're familiar with the Sonora Fly Company. For those of you who are not familiar with the Sonora Fly Company, it's not just a fly fishing shop. They are a full service, we got a pump going on out here. I'm going to keep going. They are a full service bass fishing shop. So if you're up in that area, they're having a celebration April 30th out at Cloutier Park. They're going to have food, music, vendors, beer. It's going to be a great time. In Deep on the Delta is going to be up there for you guys who may be watching the program from up there. If I haven't got a chance to meet you, make sure you come out and say hi. I'll have a booth up there. If you need information on other vendors, give them a call at the shop, and that is 209-297-9393, and that's April 30th at Cloutier Park. It's going to be a fun time. I'm looking forward to being up there and meeting some of you guys. Let's see what else we got going. Oh, you may have noticed a couple of familiar faces in the intro to the report. One of them was my son trying to net a fish that Junior from RB Bass was trying to catch. And I want you guys to be aware that in the next week or so, I will be uploading a video. I think we're going to entitle it Fishing Glide Baits for Bigger Bass. I got to go out with Junior from RB Bass and my son Nate Easter, and I'll just give you a little hint. Junior found a little Easter egg out there on Sunday. So that's all on camera. Make sure you watch that video. You probably also noticed or recognized Nick Kanemoto from the bass hookup with that huge fish. I think it was 9.3, 9.6. Sorry, Nick, I forgot what the heck he told me it was. But make sure you're supporting Nick and the bass hookup. He's one of the good guys out here. He shares his information. He's been around. Most of you guys know him and like him, and make sure you support him. They've also got, I think the first gen baits are now in Tackle Warehouse and around, so if you have any questions on those, give Nick a call and make sure you support Nick Kanemoto at the Bass Hookup. What else do I need to talk about? That's it. Let's get into the report, and it's actually pretty darn good depending on the day that you're out here. We'll talk about river conditions to start with, then we'll talk about stripers, we'll get into the largemouth bass. We're going to try to make it quick because it's not about baits, it's not about techniques, it's about weather and being on the water at the right time for both stripers and largemouth bass. So water conditions out here, clarity, everybody's been talking about how clear it is. I have seen 10 to 12 feet of visibility in the central delta. Alan Fong is reporting super clear water up north. I've had reports from down in Grant Line area, 10 feet of visibility. Unbelievable. The weed growth in here, because they haven't done a lot of spraying the last couple of years due to COVID, has really cleaned this water up. Not making it easy to catch fish, but man, you're going to find clear water out here more than likely. If you haven't been out here, you may be surprised how clear the water is. Water temperatures dropped a little bit last week, but they're back to the mid 60s. I suspect if you guys get out this weekend, you're going to be looking at mid 60s, maybe 66, 67 if the weather holds out. And I am tired of predicting the weather. What the weatherman is saying, we're going to get a few minor fronts coming in towards the end of the week, but next week, after the weekend through the next week, we're supposed to get 75, 80 degree water temps, or excuse me, air temps, and it should balance, kind of just balance out. And man, hopefully we are going to be into the summer fishing at that point. So the only thing that you really have to watch, at least the last week with these small fronts that have been coming in, we've gotten a little bit of rain, a little bit of wind. It hasn't affected the stripers as much as it has the largemouth bass, but it's really made the fishing kind of not only day to day, but almost hour to hour. But let's talk about the stripers. And actually, I think the stripers have been less affected by the weather fronts than the largemouth bass. Everybody seems to be catching stripers. There's a ton of fish in the system. Like I said, I was out with Junior and my son Sunday. We had a pretty good day. I think we spent actually less than a half a day fishing, but caught some fish, had a great time. Everybody I've been talking to is sending me reports they're catching fish. There are some big fish in the system. Rob Cloutier from the Bass Hookup, or excuse me, no, let's back that up. Rob from the Bass Hole shop on Bethel Island has reported a couple of 30-pound fish, and also has heard of a fish over 40 pounds coming in. I talked to Jeff Suhu from Suhu Sport Fishing. He's been doing fantastic, and he's been getting teeners every day up to about 18 pounds. Jeff is fishing live bait. He's found fish pretty much everywhere that he's been fishing, and he's doing very well. Here's the key. If you're going out, if you want to catch a lot of fish, you probably want to stick to just the old Cordell spot with a chrome blue back, a jerk bait, and maybe a fish trap. Those will get you a lot of fish. If you want to get the bigger fish, the bait that's been coming up time and time again is the S-Waver and the Sneaky Pete. Bone is a great color, or if you're using an S-Waver, you might want to go with a either a bone or a light trout. Really, that's all you need to know. Get out here and fish. It is day to day, but we're expecting that it's going to just keep getting more and more consistent. And remember, the stripers were late to come in. They're here now. If you want to fish for the stripers, you better get out here now. And I think if you put some time on the water, you're going to do really good with stripers. All right, largemouth bass. That's a little more iffy, and it has been day to day, morning to evening, hour to hour. And I think what you have to remember is when the fish are in shallow water, they're much more susceptible to even small barometric changes and changes in weather. A couple weeks ago, Alan Fong said, hey, don't worry about that, because when the fish get knocked off the beds or the shallow water because of weather, they're real quick to come back. And that's true. But what he didn't mention, and what we talked about today, is they are also very quick to leave. So the fish that you see in the shallows in the morning could be gone by 10 o'clock, or vice versa. They may not be there and come in, depending on the weather. So one of the keys to success, I believe, in this next couple weeks is just spending longer days on the Delta. I have been on both ends of the situation where I've gone out in the morning or the evening and had either real good luck or real poor luck. And I talked to a buddy that may have been out in the morning. When I was out in the evening, they did really well in the morning, vice versa. So it really, I think, pays off to spend as much time on the water as you possibly can this time of year. I have had in the last week better morning fishing than evening fishing. A couple weeks ago, I was telling you the evening fishing, if you could stay out till dark, was pretty good. It's been a very short bite window in the evenings. The morning bite window, especially if you're going to be fishing some topwaters, has been better than the evening bite. And I suspect that both of those bite periods, first light and last light, are going to get better and more consistent. What are people catching fish on? Everything. Top bait, if it's calm enough and you can throw a Cinco, that's still your number one bait. Punching is always good. Topwaters have been good. People have been catching them on frogs. I've heard a buzzbait bite going. They've been catching them on chatterbaits. So I think the top three baits would be, if it's calm enough to throw a Cinco, you throw a Cinco. If you get a little bit of chop on the water, throw a chatterbait. I have good information. A 34-pound bag came out of the Delta. That included a 10 and an 11-pound bass, and those were all chatterbait fish. They were on one bank. Don't know the details on it, but I suspect that guy caught the bulk of his fish in probably 15 or 20 minutes. So when it happens, it can be pretty spectacular out there when it happens. When you miss it, it can be pretty frustrating. So that's the key to success, I think, spending a long day on the water, having those three baits rigged up and switching through them. Buzzbaits have been catching a few fish, but boy, I have not got a buzzbait bite yet. I haven't got a big bait bite yet. I've been throwing some wake baits and things like that. Just hasn't happened for me. So that's the deal, guys. just get out here. The weather's going to be better, I think, next week. I'm not going to guarantee you that, but if the weather pans out like it's supposed to, we should have some darn good fishing. This last week when we had the full moon, I don't think a lot of fish came up and spawned. I think we're hopefully this next full moon, that hopefully is going to be a late spawn, and that's when everything's going to get going. I don't think there's been a lot of spawning going on yet. I haven't seen any fry, and I haven't talked to anybody that's seen fry out here yet. So that's telling you the fish that are coming up, a few of them may spawn, but the big bulk of the fish haven't really come in and dropped their eggs and started, productively spawning. With that being said, I hope you guys are able to get out. It's getting to the time where you might want to take some time off work if that weather stabilizes. Lots of big fish coming in. Get out and fish, and guess what? Be aware of a cast to catch 9-pound fish on in deep on the Delta. That might be coming up in the next week or two, and I'll spill all the beans about that if it happens, what I caught it on, and everything that you need to know to go out and catch a 9-pounder for yourself. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you guys on the water.